you're supposed to wash your hands for bread without a bracha. Yes.
What if you put oil on bread?
Oil
Well, you're washing.
oil on a cookie.
Well, right. I guess, yeah.
If you dip your cookie in olive oil. Yeah. Yeah.
I guess. What about a dip? If you put a cracker in a dip, is that also considered?
Now, what is the dip made out of? What's the ingredients?
Right.
So if it's a mixture of these liquids with other liquids, you go with the majority. So let's say fruit juice is not an issue. Fruit juice, eggs, no problem.
Oh.
So now it could be a mixture of fruit juice with water, fruit juice with milk, fruit juice, whatever. Then you go by the majority. Whatever's the majority, that's what it is.
And how do you wash again? 3 times also, but without bracha?
Same like for bread, just without a bracha. And also in terms of so many people use a towel when they wash and they're very careful. You don't necessarily have to be so careful. I mean, you should still do it properly, but it doesn't have to be with all the stringencies of when you wash your bread.
And where's the source for this? Like, where did this washing come from?
The Chachamim actively wash, same way they actively wash for bread, because we're concerned that back then when they ate truma, which was pure holy, and if you're tummy, you can't eat it. They're concerned that if your hands are tummy, touch the truma, it's going to come tummy. So the same concern is also with liquids, because liquids is actually stricter in a certain way than foods, meaning your hands, regular hands, understand there's different levels of impurity. Yeah, there's the dead body, that's the highest level. Then someone touches a dead body, that's called avatuma. Touch a dead body. You touch a dead body, then you become what's called an avatuma. And then you touch something else, that becomes Yishayim Tumah. And then if Rishon Tumah touches foods, specifically foods and drinks, then it becomes Shayim Tumah. Now, usually if a Shayim Tumah touches a Shayim Tumah, cannot make something else tummy unless it's truma. So now regular hands, I'm using translate literally from Shemot. Usually regular is a house translate literally because of Stam Yadayim, okay? Hands have the status of Shayim Tumah, meaning, in other words, someone's hands, which if I'm going to ask you, what did your hands touch? It's a whole day went by. Do you know what your hands touched? Do you know if your hands are tummy or not? You think all day what you do with your hands, you touch different things. You don't know. So the status of hands that we don't know exactly what happened to it, what they did with it, has the status of Sheni Latuma. Now, Sheni Latuma, if it touches regular food, will not become tummy. Only if it touches truma. Hands have the status of Sheni Latuma. If your hands touch truma, they become tummy. That's why you have to wash your hands for bread, because of truma. If the bread is truma, then your hands are considered shaying the truma. If you're not going to wash your hands and you're touching truma, the chances are that the truma, it's a good chance that the truma will become tummy. That's why back then Chachamim acted that we wash our hands for bread because of truma. Even though now there's no truma, but that's the kind of made. So like this, when Mashiach comes, people will be in the habit of washing their hands because right when Mashiach comes, Slish is going to be rebuilt. There's going to be truma. So like this, people will be in the habit of washing their hands. Now, with water, it's interesting. If Shayna Truma touches water, then the water, even if it's not truma, not only will it go to the, not only will it come tummy. In other words, usually if Shayna Truma touches truma, so what does the truma become? Shlishi. That's the next level, the low level, because become shlishi. Now, if your hands are shayna that we assume are shayna l'tuma will touch liquid, it goes back. I can't go into all explanation for why it works like this. Come and act it this way. That if the shayna l'tuma touches liquid, then the liquid becomes rishon l'tuma. That's why with wet foods they were strict. There's an opinion that says that when you eat wet foods, you have to wash your hands also because the concern of tumah, because your hands are going to touch the liquid. The liquid is called rishon l'tuma. Then the liquid is going to touch truma. So that's the reason why we wash our hands for wet foods. Now, some opinions say no, you don't have to. The color never came into effect, so there is a lien to payment. That's in a nutshell what it is. Right. In other words, just I said it's not that it never came into. It's not. I said that for those that say that that's this type of this enactment of washing your hands for wet foods never came into existence. That's not correct. What I mean to say is that there's an opinion that says that takana of washing your hands for wet foods only existed in those days, but not these days. Whereas the takana of washing for bread, everyone agrees was takana that Chachamim enacted that should remain forever. But the takana of washing your hands for wet foods is an opinion that says it was only back then, but now the takana doesn't exist. So the main opinion is that you should wash your hands, but those who don't, we don't have to tell them, oh, you're doing something wrong. You're supposed to wash your hands for wet foods. Okay, that's in a nutshell what it is. Now, we also mentioned that what about if you're eating, let's say, a pickle, right? You mentioned a pickle. The pickle is wet. Now, to wash your hands because it's wet. So you say to yourself, okay, I'll use a fork. I'll leave it with the fork. I won't touch it. So now it's okay because eating it with a fork. Then it says, no, it's not okay. If people usually eat the fork pickle with their hands, let's say, assuming that's the case, then it doesn't help to take it with a kami, with a fork or a spoon, whatever. We go according to the way people usually eat it. That's how it's eaten. Then you have to wash your hands. And the same is the other way. If let's say eating soup, you don't have to wash your hands, even though it's wet, because you use a spoon. What if it happens sometimes when nobody's looking, you stick your hand in and you grab something, you have to roll the soup. Now you have to wash your hands? No, because it's not what you usually do. It's not the regular. Once in a while it could happen that you don't say, oh, you kid. It happens sometimes it's okay. Unless that's how the person always eats. He always eats. He eats with his hands. And the person always, no, the person that's how he always eats the soup. He's always, he's eating by himself, and let's say, and that he feels obviously we're not saying that's what a person should eat. But if that's what a person does, then he has to wash his hands. Okay, so that's pretty much what it is about washing your hands for wet foods. Yeah, any questions? Okay. So we're going to discuss a little bit about the malacha of tziveh of dyeing. There's a malacha that we spoke about already, but I want to go it over again to give more detail. So the Mishkan had the malacha of tziveh is dyeing. So dyeing. So They would take the tapestries and they would dye it. In a special dye that would make it, the color would stick to it. That's the look of dyeing. And practically, these days, women cannot put on makeup, makeup, nail polish, all these things go into the category of dyeing. Now, the question is, how is this different than the malacha of writing? Because the question is, what about if you're coloring, if you're painting? You're not allowed to write on Shabbos. You're not allowed to do dyeing. What about coloring? Is coloring dyeing or writing?
Dye.
It's dyeing. Now, what's the difference between dyeing and writing? How do you define the difference? The difference is that dyeing is about you are improving the material, improving the fabric, improving the item that you're dealing with because you're dyeing it in a different color. However, writing has nothing to do with the material that you're improving. Writing could be also, if I take a piece of paper and I cut out letters, I'm going to make a letter. Yeah, I'll shape a letter, I'll cut out, I'll make a ayin, I'll make an aleph. That's making letters. I didn't improve. I just cut out a letter. Nothing to do with improving the material. So writing has to do with creating a letter, and dyeing has to do with improving the material. So that's why if you are coloring or painting, coloring is not writing. Coloring is really the malacha of dyeing because you're improving the paper, you're coloring it, making a certain color. That's the difference between dyeing and writing. Now, so practically, you can't use all these things that you use during the week. You can't use on Shabbos, makeup, etc. All these things you can't use. There is an opinion that's lenient by certain types of powder that you use, that if it doesn't have any oil, you see, because the malach is that it has to stick. If it doesn't stick, obviously, if you take something and you just put it here, you put it on you take a color and you put it on the paper. If it doesn't stick to the paper, it's not dyeing. So there's certain powders that is questionable if you're allowed to do it. And obviously it's better to refrain, but at least it's not for sure prohibited. Though some powders have oil in it, which stick to the skin, and that's not allowed. But there's some powders that don't have oil in it, and they don't stick the same way. But those are questionable. Some want to say it's okay because it's not sticking to the skin. You come right off. That's already questionable. But any powder that will stick to the skin, even though it's not officially makeup, it's just a powder. But if it's sticking to the skin and it's putting some type of tolerance, whatever, doing something to the skin, then that's not allowed. And the malach of dyeing is not just dyeing is obviously for material, but it's not just it's for the skin, it's for material. It could be also theoretically it could be in liquid also. If you want to dye the liquid a certain color, there's a whole discussion about in toilets they have sometimes something that they put in that makes the water a certain color. There's a whole discussion about it. Now, so there is a leniency because when a person is using the restroom, he doesn't really care about the color of the water. But that's because of the practical application. But the concept is that if you, let's say, want to color water, you want to make it a certain color, that it's a category of dyeing. Now, with tea, it's different because by food, there's no dyeing when it comes to food and drink. Because that's the malach of dyeing doesn't apply. You're drinking tea, so you're putting a tea bag, it changes the color. You're not looking to change the color of the water. It's for food purposes. So then there's no dyeing. But if, let's say, you have an interest in changing the color of the water, like let's say, we give an example by the toilets, but it's just not practical. In other words, practically, it's not going to be prohibited because the person using it doesn't care. But if, let's say, the person who's putting, if someone put it in on Shabbos in the back of the water tank, put something to make it a certain color, it wouldn't be allowed because you have an interest in changing the color of the water. Now, let's say you spill wine on the table. Spilling wine on the table on Shabbos, I want the table should look a certain color. Is that considered dyeing, at least rabbinically? And then it says no, because it's not sticking to the table. So the law of dyeing has to be that it's sticking. If it's not sticking, there is no issue. When we talk about using that you can't use makeup, it also applies to anything. Anything, meaning even if it's not makeup. Let's say you say to yourself, okay, I can't use makeup on Shabbos. You know what? I forgot to do it before Shabbos. You know what? There's no dyeing when it comes to food, we said, right? I'm going to use cherries. Cherries work very well. It's a very strong dye. The answer is no. No dyeing by food means if you're dyeing the food, you're dyeing the liquid, but you can't use food for dye. There's, you can't use cherries because you want to use it for makeup on Shabbos. Saying it's not makeup, it's food. No, that's not allowed. Because if you dyeing it, using it in a way how it's usually done, using it for makeup, so you're dyeing something that's usually it's a normal thing people with makeup. So that's not allowed. Yeah.
There's no dyeing for food whatsoever. Like, for example, if someone pours grape juice into a seltzer, like that's not the dye.
So it's interesting you asked the question, because just yesterday I was looking into it, and they bring over there that, there's something significant about using red wine, the night of Pesach, red wine. So they bring, and I don't know what the source is, but that's what they bring in a sefer, that someone wants the wine to be red, so he's pouring this white wine, so he's pouring red wine into the white wine, so the wine should be red. I don't know if that's really considered red wine anyways, but some people do it. It should be red wine. So they write, you're not allowed to do that because you're doing it specifically. It's not about that's how you drink the wine. You want it to be red. I don't know what the source is, but apparently there are some opinions who say you're not allowed. Listen, when your question again was about pouring wine into seltzer.
Grape juice into seltzers.
1 second, when you're doing it to make a coloring, or because that's how the taste.
The taste.
Oh, okay. Now I'm thinking about that. No, if it's for taste, then it's not a problem. If it's specifically for coloring, because like in this example I gave, you want it to be red, then I've seen opinions that are say not allowed, but I'm not sure if that's really. Then what?
I have friends who are like, as kids, they weren't allowed to do it, it's dying.
Right.
So.
Yeah, but the question is, I'm not sure what this, because what are you talking about? Your example about a wine that's seltzer when it's for taste? No, so I'm saying that now to them it says clearly there's no dyeing when it comes to food and drink. So if you're doing it because that's how you want to drink it, it's like a tea bag. Yeah, it's going to change the color. There's no issue. What I'm saying is, if it's, let's say, the example where you want to have red wine the night of Pesach, and it's white, you want to put in some red, and I'm not saying that even makes red wine, but people do it. Then I'm saying that could be an issue. Then there are opinions that say you're not allowed, but I haven't found the source where it comes from. You're just right, because you have an interest in it being red. It makes sense that it should be an issue because it's not when it's for drinking. That's how you eat. You want it. You're not looking to make it red. Yeah, you want it to be red. Like you have a kavana, you want it to be red. Yeah, you know what I mean. So that makes sense that it would be an issue. Yeah. When Now, interesting enough, that is, question is, so obviously you can't put nail polish as dyeing. What about removing nail polish, removing dye, removing makeup? Is that considered like erasing? So it seems that most opinions hold that it's not an issue. It's not, you can't erase, but that's not when it comes to dyeing. So most opinions hold that you cannot, that it's not a problem removing nail polish, let's say, or makeup. Now, but you have to be careful when if you're wiping off makeup, not to only use disposable. Don't use a towel or fabric material, because then you're dyeing the material. So if you're using disposable, it's okay. Just, yeah?
I thought you need to put it like on your hand, so you can't. I guess you can't soak it and then squeeze it.
What are you talking about?
Like she's talking about makeup.
You're talking about taking off makeup? Okay.
Yeah,
Then when you take it off, you take it off your hand,
yeah,
as opposed to?
as opposed to putting it on tissue or on something else, because when you put it to your face, it like squeezes it.
Oh, so it could be, okay, so that depends. It could be squeezing also, it depends how much makeup it is. If it's a small amount, there's no squeezing. I don't know, theoretically, there could be squeezing, yes, correct. But it really depends how much makeup it is. If it's a small amount, there's no real squeezing. Now, removing nail polish is very practical because I think we discussed it in the Lux of the Sivan, washing hands with bread. Because if did we discuss it? No, but if let's say nail polish. Now, when you wash your hands, you're not supposed to have anything stuck to your hands, right? Any dirt has to be clean, right? What about nail polish? Nail polish is not a problem because you want it to be there. It comes to mikvah, it's a different story. But if the nail polish is coming off, it's partially off, now you don't want it to be there. You don't like the way it is because it's already chipping off. It's not the way it should be. Now, whatever nail polish is left, you don't really want it. You're not comfortable yet, whatever they call it. You don't want it to be there. You don't feel good about it. Now it becomes an issue for washing your hands. Now you have to remove the nail polish completely because you'll be more comfortable without having it on, assuming that's the case, right? So you're allowed to take off the nail polish. Now, if it's not necessary, there is an opinion that is strict about removing nail polish. Could be even by makeup. There is an opinion that's strict about it. Because he says you're removing it with intention to eventually put it back again. So because the intention is to put it back again, he wants to be strict because, when it comes to erasing, if you can't erase with intention to rewrite, according to the Torah, to erase with intention to rewrite is prohibited. So there's an opinion that says that if you're removing the nail polish, he says he's not sure if that's allowed because it's not just removing it, the intention is to eventually put it back. So now it's part of the process of repairing already because you're removing it so you could repair it. But most opinions hold that it's accepted, you could. So that when it's brought down, if you have no reason to do it, you should best avoid it. But if you have a reason why you're doing it, then no problem, you could remove it. When someone is bleeding, as shown. So again, the same thing. Do not use material, use disposable. Obviously, you have to use common sense. If someone is really bleeding, then use anything, okay? We're talking about when it can wait, it's not urgent, If someone is bleeding seriously, just do whatever you have to do, okay? I actually have the habit of, whenever I remember before Shabbos, to cut paper towels. Not just because I'm like being performed, you always need paper towels for Shabbos. Oh, you can't cut the paper towels. Let me put like 10 pieces of paper towels up my bag, put it somewhere. Like this, in case the paper towels, you have it. Yeah, okay, so that's pretty much the halachas of Sever. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the halacha of tying knots. I know we did it before, so it'll be a bit of a review. And if anyone remembers, you can share what you know. So when it comes to tying knots, generally is 3 situations. Could be more, but I'm discussing 3 situations. There is a situation where you're tying a knot that is prohibited by the Torah, and that is if you're tying a permanent knot. There is a knot where you're tying where it's not permanent, but your intention is that it should stay tied for 24 hours. That's considered a knot. That's considered a rabbinic knot, a rabbinic prohibited knot. That's considered a temporary knot. But your intention is it should stay tied for 24 hours. If you're tying a knot that's going to stay less than 24 hours, that's not prohibited. You're allowed to tie a knot. If the intention is it's going to stay for less than 24 hours, it's permitted. Unless it's a very strong knot. If it's a very strong knot, then you cannot tie it even if it's less than 24 hours. Got it? So let's go back. There's a knot that's prohibited by the Torah, which is if it's a permanent knot. Permanent knot means that what's permanent? Permanent. I don't know if it's going to be permanent. What's permanent? Which stay forever until the shift comes. I don't know. The permanent means that right now your intention is it's going to stay this way. You have no intention of untying it. That's what means permanent. Yeah, you might decide here later to untie, but right now your timing should stay. Now, a practical example is tying the garbage. You tie the garbage, it's permanent. Tying tzitzis. You know, one day you have little boys, and the tzitzis, it unravels, and you have to tie it during the week. You tighten it, but Shabbos you can't. Because that's called permanent knot, because when you're tied, you want it to stay this way. Now, so what do you do when you tie the garbage? You can only tie it once. You can't go twice. If you tie it once, it's not called a knot. A knot means when you tie it twice. Anything I do once is not a knot. I take a bag and I go once, I take this bag and I put it together and I tie it once. It's going to open up. It's not going to hold this way. I'll tie it once and I'll try to pull it as much as I could to make it. It's not a knot. It's not called a knot that I do it. Because it's not going to hold. It holds the way it's now. No one touches it, but it's not going to hold.
Even if your intention is that it will hold.
Correct. It's not. I wish I had another bag here. I should show you. Doesn't matter. You're tying it. I think these are all knotted already. All prepared. Oh, here's the edge of this. This is right. Exactly. You're tying it like this. No problem. You tie it. Actually, this is no, there's an exception to the rule. No, that's not this question. Something different here. You see, this over here is different. You see, tying once is not a knot, but I'm taking both ends together. Okay. Just look. If I take this, take both ends, and tie it together. Not called knots. Not a knot. Why? Is it going to stay this way?
Well, that bag thanks. But also it could come out of nowhere. Why not?
I hear it the same. This is like it's like a borderline example. It's a
It
Like a
seems
big
pretty
garbage
tight.
bag, I don't-
If you take, right, take, let's see, you if let's say it's a big garbage bag, let's say, it's not gonna hold. This, maybe, maybe it's different, I think it's still allowed. Now. But if I take this bag, if I take this. Look, now look at this. No energy. I pull it, I just went like down. It's not, it's holding. Just because something holds in a certain position, it's not, a knot is not defined because it's being held in a certain position. You can do it to garbage bag also, and it's gonna hold. You try it,
Yeah.
it's gonna hold. I'll take it again, I'll tie it, it's gonna hold. Now, if I do this, it's once, only once. This is already a knot. Understand? That's a knot. It's not a strong knot, but it's a knot. Now you pulled it more, right? So now, what you did now could be considered a strong knot, or at least it's borderline. If you pull a drop more, it becomes a strong knot.
I thought just tying it like that is already a strong knot.
No. A strong knot you cannot untie even if it's less than 24 hours. That's a strong knot. Then there's a regular knot. So a regular knot. This is a regular knot. See the sense of why it's regular knot? Yeah. Why is it a regular? What makes it a regular knot as opposed to a strong knot? Do I have to use an immense effort to open it up? No. But it's not going to open by itself. So it's a regular knot. If I would take that and pull it a little more, it'll become very hard to open. Then it becomes a strong knot.
But either one you can't tie, right?
Right, but a regular knot, this type of knot, if I want to tie it with intention for it to stay less than 24 hours, it's okay.
Oh.
But now, if I pull it stronger, and I think I have one already, so now I can mess this one up. You see this one over here? You see, this one is a strong knot.
That's not.
If I'm gonna have to,
Right.
it's gonna be very hard to untie it. So then I can't do even for less than 24 hours.
Can't untie that on Thomas, right?
So any knot that you cannot tie, you cannot untie. Any knot that you could tie, you could untie. So it all depends on what kind of knot, and it doesn't matter duration. It's not like 1 second. This knot I tied with intention that it should stay for less than 24 hours. Oh, I was allowed to tie it. Yeah, but it's been tied already for 6 months. Someone just left it there. It has nothing to do with the duration of time, it has to do with the intention of the tying. If that top knot was allowed to be tied, you're allowed to untie it. Yeah.
Can you braid your hair for Shabbos?
And you what?
Can you braid your hair Friday afternoon and then open it on Shabbos Monday? I'm braid the braid on Shabbos Monday.
And it's going to open on Shabbos morning by itself?
No, you have to take out the hair tie and then you have to this.
You're not tying it, you're braiding it.
No, but I heard that you can braid. I'm sorry, is that?
They
Yeah,
say
you
braid, you mean like a challah, like
Yeah,
a braid? You
yeah, 3 and then you make them.
you take like this. Questions, are you allowed to undo it on Shabbos?
And also to do it. I'm asking.
I have to look it up. I don't want to say anything. You heard that you can't, it makes sense. It could be.
Because it's building, it's the law.
It's building, it's probably, to tell you for sure, I have to look it up, it's probably, it sounds correct when you're saying that you're not allowed. Because either it's building, right,
And it's to
it's
unbraid,
connected to building, that's what I remember, huh?
that's to unbraid. That's for that.
I assume so, I have to check to tell you for sure, to be, but it sounds like it's an issue. But it could be, it's not, I'll look it up. You have the questions? Okay, so we'll continue this mitzvah on Monday. Good day, everyone.
Thank
Good
you.
Shabbos.
Shabbos. Have a good day.